Hello and welcome to another garden update episode. My name is Sean, also known as ChilliChump. Today we're going to be taking a look around the greenhouse and seeing how the chili plants are getting on. But first of all, let's go and have a look in the garden and see what I've been getting up to there. The first thing you'll notice are the 8 raised beds. They are 4.2 meters long by 1 meter wide and about 15-16 centimeters high. I used a rotavator to churn up the grass underneath and loosen the soil a little bit, and then I placed some good quality compost on top. That took a long time. There's about 3.5 to 4 tons of compost in there, and that's one of the reasons I didn't go any higher with the raised beds, because I would have needed a lot more compost, and that gets quite expensive when you have to buy it in. You can also see some archways that I've built, and those are for my creeping vegetables. The one that I'm most excited about each year are my gem squashes, and they should creep quite nicely. I'm hoping up to the top there, but we'll see as the season goes on and we'll keep you updated. I also am going to be growing some runner beans and a few other things that will wrap themselves around those archways, so it should look quite pretty a bit later on in the season. In this first raised bed on the left, we have some artichokes, and they'll keep growing year on year. I've started them off from seed inside the greenhouse about a month and a half ago, I believe it was. And that should give us quite a few artichokes. Obviously not this year. This year we'll just get them to establish themselves, but next year we should get some lovely artichokes. I haven't yet filled up this side of the bed. We have some other plants inside the greenhouse that I'm waiting until they're a little bit more mature, and then we'll plant them in here as well. And on this side over here, we have nothing again planted just yet. We are waiting for some of my gem squashes to be a bit more mature, and then we'll plant some over there. And on this side, we have a giant pumpkin. That's the Atlantic giant pumpkin, and we'll see how big we can get that guy. And all around it, I've planted some peas and some soybeans as well. Now the reason for that is I want the legumes, the peas and the beans, to enrich the soil with nitrogen, because this is going to be quite a demanding plant. So we'll see how that works out, and I have them up to about there. So about half the bed are peas, soybeans, or edamame beans actually. That's what I'm hoping I'll be able to get out of them, and this Atlantic giant pumpkin. In this bed we have a lot of broccoli. We love broccoli in our household and we have it fairly frequently, so the bed all the way across there is just broccoli, and we'll probably plant some more a bit later on in the season. Over this side is my least favorite vegetable, Brussels sprouts. I really do not like them. The flavor is just awful to me, but my wife loves them, so we're going to be growing some Brussels sprouts. In this bed we are growing some Swede Marion up front here, and pretty much the rest of that is going to be cabbages. So we have some F1 Tundra cabbage, and we also have one of my favorites, Napa cabbage or Chinese cabbage, and that is for me to make some kimchi a bit later on in the season. We can see some of the cabbages are starting to sprout. I planted some inside the greenhouse, but these ones here are planted directly into the soil as seeds. These ones, of course, were in the greenhouse, so these have been here about a week now. They're surviving so far. We haven't lost any, so they're doing all right. But yeah, lots and lots of Chinese Napa cabbage, and they're coming up quite quickly, so looking forward to getting some of those. In this last part of the bed, we have some kohlrabi. These are very interesting looking vegetables, and they are pretty tasty too. The only reason I have so many of them is because we had very high germination rates. So unfortunately, my wife is going to have to endure a lot of kohlrabi over the summertime. But very pretty plant, and hopefully we get some decent harvests. This is a bit of a special one. I am going to be using this entire bed for asparagus. Now asparagus takes about 3 years for you to get a proper harvest from, so it's a bit of an exercise in patience. I absolutely love asparagus. It's got to be one of my favorite vegetables, that and artichokes, but it can be quite challenging to grow them. I'll take you along for the next few years until we actually get some decent harvests, but I'm really excited about that. In this bed I have my sweet corn. I'm actually doing the Three Sisters method yet again. I've done this a couple times in the past. I'll link a video up above where I explain it in a bit more detail. But essentially we have some corn and we have some peas and also soybeans that are going to be planted in between. And we're going to have some squashes and pumpkins that are going to be running up the middle as well. They're all very complementary vegetables that will help each other grow, and be interesting to see how it works out with the soil and also with how exposed it is here. We get a lot of wind where I live. Over here are some lettuces. They aren't doing terribly well. I think I pulled them outside a little bit too soon, but they grow so quickly, so I'll be starting some new ones inside the house in case these ones don't do what I need them to. We've had so much cold weather and so much rain over the last couple of weeks, and it looks like for the next week or two as well. Over there we have some runner beans, so that there is going to be runner beans, hopefully going to climb nicely along this arch. And next to it we have 2 gem squashes. Again, probably put them outside a little bit too soon. I was hoping we were going to get some unusually warm weather, but instead we've had unusually cold weather. But I've got some more growing inside the greenhouse, so when the weather does improve properly, I can take them outside here. And over here, it's just a pumpkin, and over there, another pumpkin. We're also going to be putting some courgettes over here, so we'll see how that goes later on in the season. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this works with the archway over here. The greenhouse looks a little empty at the moment, but it won't be long before these plants start filling the place up. We can see we already have some chilies coming through, of course, because I took quite a long time before I could pot up to this 1 liter pot size, and it'll be a little while before I can pot up to the next pot size. But you can see there's some actual chilies there. That's the Ring of Fire. Lovely, lovely plant that. And we can see the other plants are doing quite well. I've had a little bit of an infestation of aphids, but I think I've got them under control for the most part. As soon as the sun really starts coming through, we'll have no more problems with aphids, but until then, I have to just keep an eye on them and make sure that I keep applying my neem oil. But these plants are looking lovely. There's nice bushy growth going on, and this is just beautiful. This is a Buna Malata. I have 2 of those, and they both are pushing out peppers already. You can see there a little pepper coming through. I posted that up on Instagram the other day. But very, very pretty plant, and always very early. There's some more peppers coming through there. And there's a big old one at the back there too. This is my Piri Piri crossed with my lemon drop, and you can see it settled in quite nicely. If you saw the video I posted recently, it went through the ringer a little bit because I transplanted it from hydroponics into soil. But it's recovered nicely. There's some new growth coming through, and we can see the start of a couple flowers. So as soon as we get a flower that's viable, I will isolate it and make sure that we can move on to second generation. But the plant's looking healthy and no aphids, thankfully. Over here we have a few other plants. This one was looking a little bit bare, but we can see all this new growth coming up the stem. It's looking good. Before it was just a lot of growth at the top, nothing down below. It was just a bare stalk, but you can see how it starts bushing out quite quickly when it's in a happy place. This is my only plant that I've been having some real issues with. I don't think it's going to survive. Not sure exactly what's happened with it, but I've tried taking it indoors and putting it in the warm, but I think it's just had it. And sometimes that happens. You shouldn't worry too much about it. The fact that I have 180 other plants that are perfectly healthy, I think that's going to make up for it. But it's always sad to lose a plant. So I'm going to leave it there for a little bit longer and see if it does happen to recover, but I don't think it's got much hope. The stalk itself looks not very happy, but hey, who knows? Stranger things have happened. We've got another one that looks like it's not very happy as well. I pulled this inside, kind of in my hospital area, and put it under lights, kept it warm, and yeah, it looks like it's recovering. I don't really know that it's worth trying to recover it because it's not going to be a very healthy plant throughout the season, but we'll keep an eye on it. It's always interesting to see how they respond. The plants in the bigger pots are not exactly responding any better than the plants in the smaller pots. You can see the size of the plant is about the size of my hand, which is pretty much the same as what you're getting from these pots. I mean, some of them are even bigger. And that's to be expected. At the moment, I'm hoping that the roots are just spreading quite nicely inside here. And then as we get a bit of a warmer spell, that this plant will just explode with growth. But don't rush to go to a bigger pot size. It's really not worth it. And it just takes up space that's really unnecessary. I will only be potting up to these larger pot sizes for the rest of these plants in maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a bit longer, we'll see. But yeah, some plants are going to respond better than others. This one here probably be the same size, if not bigger, if I was in a smaller pot, to be honest. We have some other big pots over here. Some you can see responding better than others. This is quite a tall one, but it's not really bushing out too much. You can see some new growth coming through on the stem, and it will get bushier as time goes on. This one here is looking a little bit healthier. This is lovely and bushy and should spread out quite a bit as well. And this one here is lovely. It's growing at a bit of an angle. It's a little bit strange, but it's looking healthy, so we'll see how that progresses. These here are two of my Poblanos. They are pretty small still. We can still see a lot of growth potential there, but that's to be expected at this time of season. We even have a pepper over there, but very, very small, and I'll probably cut that off a bit later. I will focus in on getting a monster Poblano probably in the next month and a half or so. But right now I'm just trying to establish it well, get the roots to fill up the pots and get some nice dark green foliage, and then we'll start doing some experimenting to get some monster size Poblanos. This is a fun one. Never seen this happen before. Directly in the middle, off the main stem, is this pepper just growing out here. It's a Hungarian hot wax, and it's quite a pretty little plant, and I'm sure it will bush out a bit later on, but yeah, that's definitely unique. Not seen that before. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the plant ends up a bit later on, but we can see a lot of new growth coming there. It will spread out as time goes on. This here is the Kangstar Lemon Starburst, and still is looking absolutely gorgeous. Quite an interesting one. My wife looked at it the other day and thought there were two plants growing in here, but I promise it is just one. But it's really filling up the pot. And I've seen a few of my patrons, they are growing the same plant and they're having the same experience. A very, very bushy plant. So yeah, very, very impressed with that. Well done, Kangstar. Beautiful cross. I'm sure you'll recognize these. These are my Bonchi, and I brought them outside because there's no point having them indoors under lights because there's plenty of light out here. I'm having to water them quite a bit more often, and I'll start doing a bit of shaping. We can see that they're really taking over here, but the roots, I mean, look at the size of that. That is just stunning. But we'll start shaping it up and it's going to look lovely. I'm going to keep it small, keep it about that size. I don't want to get too much bigger than that. And we'll see how we can make it look like a tree. Back here, the other one as well. Again, it's looking stunning. The roots down there are just perfect. And we have some flowers coming through. Nothing set fruit just yet, but I'm sure it won't be long before it does. And again, we'll do some shaping of this. I might need to change the soil on these two plants at some point because I'm sure they've used up all the macro and micronutrients that have been available for it. So yeah, we'll do that maybe in the next 2 weeks or so. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, stay safe and stay spicy.